Okay, so when we last left off, we had this kind of funny little example where we could drag this guy, drop him back down inside of our little caged area, and then he's going to just move along off to the side of the screen, right? And aside from none of this really making much sense as to why we're doing any of it, there is one little issue though, which is that the camera, you'll notice, jumps as soon as we let go of this guy. It jumps immediately over to him, and then he falls down. So if you were going to do something like this, you'd probably want to make it so that the camera tracks smoothly to the character before he dives back down again. So that's one of the things that we're going to take care of via an SKAction. But I do want to introduce you guys to SKActions in another way. If you have no idea what they are, you can now set them up independent from your code in the game scene itself. So let's not worry about this guy for right now. We'll just pick on one of our other SKSpriteNodes, our little dummy guy over here. And actually, while we're thinking about it, let's go ahead and get rid of the other two that we've had. They're just kind of lingering outside of our frame. So, here's our little guy, and we are going to open up the animate timeline controls, and we can grab any action that we want. Let's find a good one here. Oh, how about rotate? Not sure that this is the greatest one, but we'll see what happens. Okay, so what we'll do is rotate it, let's try 360 degrees over 5 seconds. We could even set the timing mode to ease out. And then if you want a little preview of what this would look like, well, there's our little guy just rotating over and over again. Well, actually, it's not set to infinite yet, so let's go ahead and put that in there as well. So we're going to loop this. And now when we run our scene, we should see him just spinning around. Okay, and of course he's still pushable and movable and everything like that with our physics, so who knows what's going to happen at this point. Now remember, this guy is not affected by gravity, so you are able to push him up like that. So again, why would we do this? Who knows? But previous to Xcode 7, this was all stuff that you were going to end up doing via code, and of course it's still very good to be able to know how to do that, but there are some nice conveniences now in Xcode 7. This alone is one of them, but you can also save these as references, and this is getting cut off right at the very bottom of the screen here. Let's see if I can maybe get it to not be cut off. Can I move that around? Well, here. So you can go over here and go to convert to reference, and let's just call this 5 second rotate. And it's actually going to create a new file, call these generic actions. And now I've actually saved this as an action that I can pull out of here whenever I want. So right now I'm in that generic actions file I just created. I'm going to organize this a little bit better, pull that back down here. But so once I'm back in my game scene, what I can do is, again, take this out. I can pull it onto any other node that I wanted to, and then if I need to make some changes to it, I can go back over here to my generic actions. Let's say I decided later on that I didn't want the ease out in there. I can just switch that to linear now, and it's going to affect all those other actions that it would apply to. And you can also run those actions programmably as well, although currently in Xcode 7 beta 5 they're transitioning from the one line of code that does that, so we won't talk about it now, but let's go back over here to our game scene, and we're going to actually make an SKAction from scratch, because you are definitely going to find that you still have to do that. It's an important part of programming, and an important part of SpriteKit, really, because these actions all get paused if you were to pause the scene. So they're really built into SpriteKit, not any other part of the iOS frameworks. Okay, so here's our problem here. We are when we let go of our character, we're setting is moving to false again, which means that the code inside of this if statement is then immediately occurring. So our camera just kind of slams back into the position of the player. So that's one of the issues. And to handle that, let's make it so that when we release touching the character, we're going to run our action that is going to make the camera go to the player, and then after that, we're going to basically switch this back to being false again. And then we'd also at that point want to switch our gravity back on. So there's a really cool way to do this. Let's go. And first we're just going to write let. Most of the time you create an action, you're just going to go with let because you're not going to change it over time. So we'll say let move camera. This is going to be an SKAction. This is going to equal SKAction dot move to, and in here we can actually specify moving to our player. And what you'd probably want to do is let's make actually the CG point outside of this. Let's call it cam location. And this is going to be CG point make, and then I'm just going to take this right down here. And actually, the only reason I could do it inside of this line of code, but then you got this really long line of code, so you might as well just do this. Create the cam location first, pop it in there, and we'll make this occur really fast, so just like 0.5, half a second. And we can even set the timing mode of this, so you can go move camera dot timing mode, and this is going to equal dot ease out. And you might have noticed the timing mode options we had when we were playing around with our generic action. We also had linear, ease in, ease out. We'll just go with ease out. And then the next thing we're going to do is run a block of code. So there's a couple of ways we could do this. We could write run let so I'm just going to call the action run. This is going to equal SKAction dot RunBlock, and then inside of here you could call another function. So we could say, let's see, function release player. And what we're going to do again, we're going to say is moving equals false, and then we're going to take our player dot physics body dot affected by gravity, and that's going to equal true again. And then from here you just put in release player. I'm going to show you a variation of this code though, and then we want to make these occur in sequence. So I'm going to write let, and I'm just going to shorten this to sequence. SKAction equals SKAction dot sequence. And you can set up groups or sequences. Sequences are going to make it so that the move camera performs first, and then our run action performs second. So 0.5 seconds after the move after we start this one, then run occurs. They're not getting run as a group. And then finally, what we just need to do here is write self.run action, and then this is going to be our sequence right here. And unless I'm mistaken, I think we got it. So let's give it a shot. I'll be honest, I didn't test this beforehand, so we'll see what really happens. Okay, so I'm going to move them around, and then you know what? Actually, I'm sorry. It's not self. It's our camera that we need to run the action on. I was thinking, there's something here I'm forgetting. Okay, all right. Boom. Our camera moves up there and falls back down again, and everything is nice and normal. And it is kind of a smooth transition. You can really tell that ease out is in there, and drops on back down again. All right, so let's take a look at the alternate way of running this block. And this is actually only something that I've noticed you could do until quite recently. You can change these to squiggly brackets, and if you want, you could even put in lines of code right here and just separate them with the old semicolon. So for example, you could do something like that and get rid of this. At least I think you can do this. Thought you could. Let's run it. Oh, yeah, what you have to do is put self inside it before each of these self. And now let's see what happens. Same exact thing, right? Doink. Boink. It's kind of fun that this guy is rotating now, though, because he's doing some odd things. Bump him out of the way. Okay, so you hopefully you see how that works. And in terms of the actions you can do, I mean, there's all sorts of fun stuff. I mean, really all you have to do is start writing, you know, some action, SKAction, and then equals SKAction. And as soon as you put that dot in there, you're going to start to see all sorts of, you know, scale by, scale to, scale X by, fade alpha to, fade alpha by, rotate. So there's plenty in there, and of course if you want to just, you know, for reference, go and scroll up and down some of the other ones that you've got over here, resize, all this stuff. But one of the ones that you're going to really make use of for gaming is this RunBlock option. Okay, I'll see you in the next video.